Today I wanted to chat about the 3 pillars. I feel like I made these up, but to be honest, it's my complete and utter take on how one really heals, how one really takes the time and the energy to fix themselves. And there's no one on this earth that hasn't experienced a degree of trauma. No matter how it looks or how it feels, you can't compare one person's trauma to another. And with that said, you can take different approaches to healing. Trauma traps itself in the body in the way of energy. And most of the times, energy that is manifested trauma traps itself in the creases of the body. Places like the joints, the hips, and the neck, the jaw, parts of the body where energy can't easily flow through unless it's very seriously worked on. And then what happens at a higher level is that trapped energy manifests as some kind of discomfort or dis-ease. And a lot of trapped energy sits in the gut, a lot of trapped energy sits in the womb, in the sexual organs of both male and female. And without carefully understanding the process you might take to release that trapped energy, it can be stagnant and stay there for many, many years. And people do then have chronic pain and things that no chiropractor or no physiotherapy or no doctor can help. And if you're at that point in your life where you're not understanding why things aren't shifting, but you're doing the work that you've been told to do, then it is time to reassess how many of the pillars you've crossed, how many of them you're aware of, and have you been able to weave them in all together? Because in the learning I've done over the last 20 years, I think that it takes a very careful, phased approach to healing. I don't know if anyone's heard about a scientific process which they've called a healing crisis, and it has a formal name as well. But it's what happens when people try to heal too fast. And a perfect example of that is someone that has a substance or alcohol abuse problem that decides that they want to change, and they heal too fast by stopping drinking there and then or stopping using substances there and then. And that healing crisis makes them terribly, terribly, terribly sick, and in some cases can actually cause death. So that is just the perfect example of how we need to understand that if we've been carrying around trapped energy in our bodies in the form of trauma, and it's manifesting in really poor health, skin conditions, digestive issues, aches and pains, chronic headaches, chronic pain, autoimmune disease, that we need to take it really, really slow. And people don't like to sit in front of someone that's going to help them and hear that your healing process might be 1 year to 2 years long, it might be 3 years, it might be 5 years. But what you do want to hear from me, if you hear nothing else, is that you can go around those short, quick cycles a number of times, and you can end up spending a lot of money. But more importantly, wasting time that you've got left going on these short little cycles. Take this pill and you'll be fine by next week. Take this course of antibiotics for 3 months and everything will, wash its face, however they word it. So I'm really here today to just talk you a little bit through the 3 pillars, the slow healing process. A process that, whilst you go through it, not only inspires your body to heal and nourish itself, but even more importantly will help you to uncover your true self, who you are that's been hiding behind all of this for so long. You will be able to re-expose what you're here for, what your real dreams are, what your real values are, what you really want to achieve in this life, and how you're able to get there. And so I'm going to talk you a little bit through how it happens. In my opinion, healing at the minimum is 1 year. And depending on how long you've struggled with things, the first place to look is always the gut health. Without a doubt, everything in the body is connected to how nourished and vital the microbiome is. Gut health work can take years to undo. I had 3 children. The latter 2 have 3 children, beautiful boys. The latter 2, my babies, they really struggled with gut health from birth. And the manifestation of that strain on the body was eczema, extremely severe eczema. Severe eczema where even me, who does not like to, basically even me, was sitting in front of a very, modern medicine, high-end pediatric allergist going, please help. And after 3 or 4 sessions with that allergist, that's something like £700 a session, I realized quite quickly that nothing about what was being told to me was tailored. I had a friend who'd seen the same doctor, and the outcome or protocol was the exact same. Smother him in Termalate or Cetrafate or whatever these, Cetraban or these creams, and use steroids as and when. I said to this woman, I said, every time I've seen people use steroids on babies, there's a warning sign on the thing at the side of the steroids that says, do not use this on a child for longer than 7 days. You're telling me to use it for 2 weeks. The steroid suppresses the eczema and pushes the toxin, or the manifestation, the outward manifestation of healing, need for healing, back deep into the body, into the deeper layers of the skin. So superficially, which is what we love as humans, everything looks like it's well in order. And you're so proud of yourself as a parent, and you can relax a little bit and you can sleep that night because the eczema is gone and your baby is cured. The difficult thing is that the minute that you remove that steroid, that suppressant, from the body, the eczema comes up and out again to rear its ugly head because you haven't dealt with the root cause. And unfortunately, when it comes to chronic and more long-term illness, a lot of things do not deal with the root cause. The way that Western medicine has decided to work is to use something to cover up what is going on. And so that is a much, much longer journey, because the more you suppress and the more you cover up, the more you get generational trauma, generational dis-ease, generational discomfort. That means that I'm sure you can relate when you think of family lines whereby no one talks about anything. Everything's swept under the rug, can you say? And it comes out to bite you. Recently, I've been studying a lot of work in the shamanic space around nature and the elements and energy. And a teacher said something fascinating in a book that she wrote, which was energy or pain or trauma in a lifetime doesn't die with the person. So basically that person carries that weight of pain and it needs to be passed on. So in most cases, when someone does die, you believe that their soul lives on, but the generational pain isn't laid to rest until it is transmuted. And transmutation of pain is a really beautiful word, because healing of pain is different. You can make yourself feel a little bit better. You can put a band-aid on and get a hug from your mom if you're a baby and you feel a little bit better. But releasing that trapped energy and transmuting it, understanding it, and letting it pass through and out of the generational line is a whole different thing. And so what would happen is you'll see repeats of cycles. And I speak about it on my website. For 10 years, I worked in a wealth management firm as a partner and was exposed to the interesting dynamics of generational wealth. It's the exact same thing as generational trauma. And what is so amazing is that in generational wealth, the same stories, unless they are healed, repeat themselves. You know, there's the reprobate generation that spend all the money. There's the suffering generation that try and build and struggle and grow to create the money. And then there's a generation that are gifted the money. And so it goes around and around and around. The reprobates come back again and they lose it all. The workers come back again and they build it all. And then there's a generation of just living in the money, which is also not good for people. So if you can relate to that example, then you can easily relate to what I'm saying about generational trauma. We need to pass on our pain and let it come through us and be healed before we die, because you don't want to leave that legacy generationally. And you will see that there's what's called a chain breaker in every family. And that is someone in the family that can see potentially these cycles, or that's got enough curiosity to ask questions like, what did Granny do? How was Grandma? Did this one have a mental illness? Did this one suffer from this kind of issue? Was there, whatever the issues are that lie in families, and there are many, in our line, in our generational line, and more often than not, you'll discover that it is a cycle repeating itself. If you're watching this, you probably are very likely the chain breaker in your family, which means that you are here to stop the cycle, stop that cyclical process, and be able to heal yourself. And the beautiful thing about this 3-pillar work is that you are not responsible for the healing of others. So if you can, and most chain breakers can, see the gap. You can see, okay, I understand where the pain is. I understand who needs to do what. I can see if this person works on their money wounds, and if this person worked on their motherly, maternal issues, and that everything would be better. Just stop and think of me in that moment, because I've tried that path. It is not going to work. It is an ugly, uncomfortable path where you become shunned, you don't feel a part of things, people look at you like, who do you think you are? And even though you feel like you're trying to heal and do good for the family, it backfires, and it will, trust me. So step back and just remember that you are here to do the work on yourself, and that the beauty of transmuting energy is that if you're able to do it yourself, and you do it, the flow, the frequency, the up-leveling that you experience as an individual overflows and affects the frequency of your family around you. And remember that trauma is energy, and energy is frequency, and it all is very, very beautifully interconnected. So that absolutely means that you will be healing generationally back and generationally forward just by doing the work on yourself. So if that makes sense to you, I'll run through the 3 pillars. I opened with the first one. You need to spend at the minimum 3 months. And I do this in my mastermind. It's the whole first quarter of the mastermind. Unpicking your gut health. And no 2 microbiomes need the same thing. And that is the difference. It's about working on an individual level, understanding how to scan your body and read your own body signals, which means that when you eat something, when you lean into something, when you live in a certain way, when you exercise in a certain way, you'll very easily be able to know whether it's right or wrong for you. And there's nothing prescriptive about this. I can't tell you what you need for your body. You can. But I can teach you how to understand and form a relationship with your own body. And from there, once you are connected to your gut is nourished. You're going to the toilet, your body's in an ideal condition. You are a healthy and flourishing weight. And you have a positive and loving relationship with your own body. All those things are connected to gut health. Everything opens up from there. Absolutely everything. Pillar 2 is what I call bioaccumulation or toxic load. Really not enough people in the gut health space are talking about this, and it makes me sad, because you can really buy every probiotic in the book and look at your diet from any point of view particularly, and think that you're doing a good job, but you're not. It's not enough. It's everything interconnected that affects our gut, especially for children that are, as young as newborn. All the way up to 3, you have a beautiful window where you can really impact the health and the beauty of that baby's microbiome. However, once 3 sets in, once a child is 3, it is very, very difficult. They need to go on an adult protocol, and they need to be disciplined, and they need to be for 2 years nourishing their gut. Why would you do that to a child when they're going to birthday parties and having all these experiences that is almost a rite of passage as a child? I don't not allow my kids to have ice creams. I don't not allow my kids to incorporate fun foods into their diet, because they are children. However, they are so nourished and have come from such a high base from their younger years that they can occasionally eat rubbish and enjoy it, and it doesn't touch sides. And that's where you want to get to in your gut health. You want to be able to go and have a beer and a pizza. You want to eat an ice cream. You want to enjoy beautiful things. However, if your gut is compromised and you're constantly half-heartedly healing it, it's always going to be painful. If you beautifully heal your gut, then you will suddenly understand that you can have a life that's fun and enjoyable. I think this is my husband. So that's number 2 is what a lot of people don't really take enough of time to understand: bioavailability and toxic load, the environment, the built environment, the environment that you're sleeping in, the light that you're exposing yourself to, the toxins in your home. And scientifically, it's been proven, really sadly to me, that some of the most toxic places that people go or spend time is in their own home. People don't understand flow. People don't understand feng shui. People don't understand energy flow in the home. People don't understand electromagnetic frequency. What they need to understand is that the earth itself has EMF. There's an electromagnetic frequency emitted from Mother Earth the entire time. And that is why we need to ground. You need to get your feet on the bare ground to absorb the EMFs that are good for the body, that are bioavailable, naturally matched to the body. However, we are surrounding ourselves with Wi-Fi, 5G towers, different frequencies, microwave frequencies, radio frequencies, dirty electricity frequencies. And I can teach you quite quickly to make a few small changes in your bedroom. So for the 8 hours that you're sleeping at night, you are making a massive difference to your toxic load. This takes years of tweaking and learning and understanding. And I've had so many beautiful teachers in this space, masters in their space, mastered. And you can never stop learning here. And my most recent teacher, who I'm working with in Dubai, has taught me so much beautiful stuff. We go into geopathic stress and ley lines. People do not know enough about this. Geopathic stress is so detrimental to our health, and no one talks about it. It is said and written that the royal family have a geopathic stress consultant who will go to any place where any member of the immediate royal family is staying overnight and will measure geopathic stress. So potentially the royals, at least the direct line, would not sleep on an area of geopathic stress even for one night. So think about that. What if your bed is lying across a geopathic area of stress, or a fault line or a ley line? These are just simple things that we should be talking about more. 8 hours of your evening is spent, of your day rather, is spent in bed. If you're sleeping in a place that is toxing your body, one small change will really make a huge difference. And the final thing we talk about, toxic load again, it's a 3 to 6 month process. However, in my mastermind, we can cover it in 12 good weeks, because I will be able to spoon feed to you what I've learned over 10 years of tinkering. And everywhere we go, no matter where we travel, and as you can see, we travel a lot. At least this summer, we've been in Dubai, moved over to the Bahamas, where my husband has a home and was born. So there's a lot of connected energy there. Now we're in Portugal, where we actually have been coming with our best friends every year for 10 years. And even by moving around, there are so many hacks you can do that will just transform your bedroom where you and your children are sleeping, and impact your toxic load. And it goes further than that. Chemicals and toxins in washing detergents and liquids, personal care products, food, pesticides, herbicides, exposure to pool chemicals. And what I want you to understand is that this healing doesn't have to be difficult. So many people listen to what I have to say and then they're like, oh God, no, that's way too exhausting. I can't take that on. Why would I ever take that on? And I'm just like, it's not about, you don't want to get into that healing crisis I spoke about when we began. It is not about fast and furious and doing everything all at once. It is tiny little changes along your own individual journey that will transform your life as you go slowly but surely. So just think about that. In the third quarter, what we do is we then tie together gut health and toxic load with something that I call trauma load. How much trauma can the body take? This recent book I've been reading, this teacher in the shamanic space, talks about trauma and how it can vary at different levels. We're able to cope with pain, we're able to cope with trauma. Humans are so versatile and resilient. But at the same time, it's not about using one shampoo that has parabens in it, or basically washing your stuff in the detergent once or twice. It's always the cumulative effect. It's the same with saving money. The cumulative effect, if you do those numbers in maths, it adds up in a way that will frighten the socks off of you, because everything that is put on the market has a small amount of chemicals that helps it work. Clean your hair faster, make it more shiny, dye your hair, be more beautiful, have a natural tan, da 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 da. We're only supposed to be using 1 or 2 of those products in our life. And the FDA and these other regulating bodies, it's more America-based. Europe is a far safer place for toxic chemicals. But they believe that you might only use 1 or 2 of those products in your life. Women are using 60 self-care products or more in a day sometimes, in a week. And we're being exposed in all sorts of different ways. So when that accumulates and adds up, that is when the body tips over the edge. And then when you add trauma to that, this is why we are dealing with instances of ADHD, of children that are suffering with mental illness, of people that are losing the will to live. Trauma can shock the body in such a way that you can basically just tap out of society. You basically can just not be comfortable at all with the levels of trauma that your body's being exposed to, and you can shut down in ways that are emotionally stunting, in ways that are dangerous for your partner, in ways that are dangerous for your children, and in ways that are dangerous for their children. So if you know people that have shut down in certain parts of their lives, or have really kind of put barriers up around certain traumas, most of the time, if you spend enough time with someone and you're close enough to them, you will very much be able to identify where they are exhibiting poor behavior around things they haven't healed. It's really apparent in a marriage. And so if you give the gift to yourself of understanding where your trauma lies and taking this journey, it's so uncomfortable. It's so ugly. There's no other word for it. It's such a difficult journey to take. The trauma load quarter, the 3 months we work on trauma load, it cracks everything open. And it does that in a sense whereby it's painful and uncomfortable. But once you've done that, it changes you, it changes your life, it uplevels you. and it really opens up your ability to do anything you want to do. And that's what's so beautiful, is once you do the hard work, everyone around you will notice, and everyone around you will up level from your frequency being lifted. And those are my 3 pillars: gut health, toxic load, trauma load. You can't do one without the other. And I bet you have a story whereby you've tried to tackle healing by doing one thing and not another, without coupling them all together. It's a long and discombobulated, disjointed, disconnected, and inefficient way of healing, and it won't work. You will relapse and you will have to come back to yourself again. And whoever you're paying to help you, you're going to have to do it all over again. Trauma load, we do incorporate things like meditation, inner child healing, something that I call blueprint re-imaging, which is blueprint re-imaging is being able to travel to points of trauma in your life and rewire the blueprint, re-image it in your mind. Inner child work is deep. It's about being the adult version of yourself and visiting the child version of yourself and understanding and really feeling and connecting with them in their pain in that moment. It's so healing. It transmutes generational pain. And what you might realize is that shouting, screaming, being angry, never forgiving, holding a grudge, hating, all of those emotions towards situations, people, circumstances that have caused trauma in your life, they will never, ever heal you or the person involved. And I'll go back to my earlier point, it is not your job to heal the person involved. All you can do is work on yourself and show up as the best version of yourself. And this work, and probably the reason why my mastermind is evergreen, the word I use, is because this work is so complicated and trauma will always rear its head. One of my dear friends, Kim, talked so beautifully to me about it the other day. A piece of pain, a trauma she was working through, and we've been in close contact for many, many years around healing together. We've learned so much together, and there's something reared its head again. And she said to me, you know what? And I completely agree. The trauma is like a little garden that's grown inside of you. Sometimes there's weeds, but if you tend to it and look after it like we do together in this mastermind, you can have a rose garden and it can be so magnificent. However, on this earth, if you have a rose garden and you don't prune your roses and constantly go and visit them and take care of them and water them and understand what they need, they will die. And so in order to keep your trauma load at a level that brings you peace and allows you to be free from pain, inner pain, you have to keep learning. And so the evergreen version of my mastermind is this: if at the end of that year that content has served you, you join another year. And so as I up level and learn, so the content up levels and keeps teaching. And by the end of first year mastermind, we do go deep. We do get into things like lucid dreaming, forward meditation, astral travel, some of the other stuff I talk about on my channel. But without the basics, it all is way too difficult. So have a think of those 3 pillars. I'd love to hear your comment below. If you enjoyed the video, then please subscribe. I seem to have got into a habit of chatting as I walk. I always quote Winston Churchill when I talk about it. Moving meditations and moving meetings are like the most valuable things you could ever do. So if you've got the opportunity today, potentially reschedule one of your meetings for a walk and talk and see how that serves you. I'm so glad that you found my channel. I really hope that you'd be interested in joining my year-long mastermind. It is a beautiful container where we network at the highest level. You will meet like-minded entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, people wanting to do business differently, people wanting a spirit-based approach, and to bring in all the beautiful things that I teach in my video here. A continuous channel of learning for a year long with people that will become mentors and friends and business partners for life. So come and join us. The link's in the description below.